Let me test this damn thing. Before I even really say anything, let me test it first. Okay. Maybe it seems like it's working now. Alright. Piece of shit. Anyways, enter my little intro here. Gandalf wants you for the battle of the five armies. Epicness. You know I'm a big Hobbit fan. You know I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I love both trilogies equally, so all well and good. I apologize for that little intro there because of the fact that, well, my camera wants to be a dick tonight, obviously, because when I put it on, it says there's no audio detected, but when I ended up recording that short segment to go back and look at the video, just to check and make sure, the audio was on there. I unplugged my camera, plugged it back in, and it seems like it's alright. So it's basically just PMSing like it always freaking does. I'm about ready to just take it and set it on fire and let it burn and then go buy another one. It may come to that because this camera has pissed me off a lot since I've owned it. It was alright to start out with, and now it just wants to be a complete bitch. So, anyways, this is what this little video is going to be about, and it basically has to deal with busy work in RPGs. Something that I really hate. I really do. It's like I'm playing Trails of Cold Steel right now on PlayStation 3, and I can understand if you're going to have side quests. I can understand if you're going to have main quests. Well, obviously, but the way that it pans out is just like there's so much well, I shouldn't say lag time, but there's so much space in between where big story segments happen. It just irks me to no end. It's one reason why I haven't finished the game. It's one reason why I don't really care about what's really going on in certain aspects of the story or what's going on with certain side quests, because it's like the side quests are just, they're boring, they're stupid. I mean, seriously, like right now I'm having to go and get like uh, comments or something from people from some newspaper, something or another in the game, and that's a main quest. That's freaking stupid. That's boring, man. See, I know I'm probably going to kind of go, obviously, go off on a rant about this a bit, but I'm going to finish the game whenever I feel like it, because, like I said, that's one reason why I haven't finished it so far, because of the fact of it's just like the quests aren't really like the characters are cool, the story seems like it's cool for how long it freaking takes you to get from one big story segment to the next. The battle system is fine and all of that, and I have the second one, and I really want to get to it. And from what I've heard, it's a lot better than the first one. I pray to God it actually is much more fit together better than this first one is. And some of the dialogue between the characters is like really stretched out, and some of the cutscenes are as well. I found myself most times just pressing the X button, constantly trying to get through dialogue and getting through cutscenes. And I can understand of a specific group of people that are interested in stuff like that. And I love story and I love characters and all of that, but the way that it seems like it's presented is just really boring me. It really is. But there's some things that's actually keeping me with it so that I can go ahead and finish it and move onward. And I've heard that the third game is actually going to end up coming to the PlayStation 4, which is all well and good because I would like to actually see what it would look like on the PlayStation 4. To be quite honest, I really don't think it's going to look any different than it is on PlayStation 3. You know, I mean, Tales of one of the Tales of games, whatever it was. I can't remember which one it was that was released on PlayStation 4. I think it was Zestiria, I believe. From what I've heard, it wasn't really looking any different than it was from PlayStation 3. You know, there was a few more higher, well, not polygon counts, but the sharpness was a little bit better than it was in the PlayStation 3 version and all of that. But overall, it's like it really didn't look any different. And I don't think that the third one is really going to look any different either. I wouldn't be surprised if they also ended up putting it on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, and they're just going to move port over a version to PlayStation 4. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, because it's happened more times than we can count, especially with JRPGs and just games in general, whether it's from console to PC or PC to console or whatever. But honestly, like, I'm playing it now, and I'm like, okay, well, I really want to get past this, and I want to go ahead and push onward. So I'm doing that right now. But I felt like I really need to make a video about this because I was wondering if maybe you guys feel the exact same way. You know, I love all types of RPGs. I love Japanese role-playing games, and I love Western role-playing games. But the thing is, though, is it seems like in JRPGs, there's a hell of a lot more busy work than there is in Western RPGs. It really just seemed like it's a time sink for JRPGs. It takes some games with some JRPGs. It seems like it can blast you right off in the stratosphere, and you'll automatically be into a really engaging story and characters and all of that, all the way from beginning to end. And some of them are just really lacking. They're just like, oh, we have these really big story segments, but we're gonna make you wait 5 hours before something like that happens. Really, 5 hours? And then meanwhile, you have Western role playing games like, say, Elder Scrolls or Fallout, and one quest to the next. It always seems like there's something interesting going on, or there's something interesting that's going to happen when you actually go out into that world. And I know that it's two different worlds that we're talking about here. We're talking about how JRPGs mainly kind of just follow a certain section of characters, and you follow them throughout their journey, you follow them throughout their story and their characters and all of that, from point A to point B, so on and so forth. And yeah, some JRPGs, especially nowadays, are having more of an open world feel to them. But then again, you also have the Western side of things, where it seems like mostly Western RPGs are always about creating your character and choosing your own destiny, choosing what things you're going to say to certain characters and how the story is going to play out, and what actions that you're going to create. And it seems like they have more of like an open world feel, if you will, which obviously is with Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Um, there hasn't really been any other Western RPGs that I can think of that have been otherwise. That have been kind of following a JRPG route where it's just point A to point B and point C to point D, and you might branch off or something from there. Because some JRPGs do have this point where you can choose make different choices, and that will actually have an effect on different character and story outcomes. But it's like you want to love a game so much because you've heard so much about it, you've seen a lot of footage on it, you've read reviews, you've played it some yourself, but there's just something that holds you back. And it's just like, there's something in this game that just isn't clicking with me, so I can't stick with it at this moment because there's no sense in me sitting here playing this game and falling asleep or getting bored. I'll just move on to something else, plain and simple. It's like I was playing Trails of Cold Steel, for example, a couple days ago or whatever it was, before I got back to it again, and I'm just kind of like, this is kind of boring me. I'm just falling asleep here. And then I go and end up putting in The Witcher 3 once again, which is an open world thing, and it's just one interesting thing to the next, honestly. I don't know if it's just the fact of the open world feel, where it seems like anything can happen, or if it's just the fact that, the content just isn't grabbing me. And another thing, when, for example, like when you play Trails of Cold Steel, it kind of has like that school environment that is in some animes and things like that. Obviously it's more than that, but it still has that whole feel. And I've never been into those types of animes. The whole school guy and schoolgirl anime, and they may be like martial arts masters, or they may have these amazing powers or something, or something like that. I've never been into that. Any of the ones that I've tried to watch, I've never been into those at all. And now it just seems like when I was playing this, I was like, oh, well, I'll look past that. I'll look more into it. And it seemed like it was getting more interesting as time was wearing on. But, I mean, how do you guys really feel about it? Do you feel like the busy work that happens in JRPGs, does it help you in terms of you understanding the story better, or understanding the characters better, or helping you with leveling up, or things like that? I mean, what's your whole thoughts on it? I would really like to know. If you just comment below, we can have a discussion that could go on about it. But it's kind of sad, at least for me, in my sense, because I think I have one or two other Legends of Heroes games that are on the PSP, and it honestly, like, I haven't really given it a fair shot just yet. But I'm thinking, man, if this one is like this, and this one, apparently this is supposed to be a trilogy for the Trails of Cold Steel. Obviously the third one hasn't came out yet, and the second one just came out, at least here in America. But it's like, I hope that the one on PSP isn't like that, because there's a few of them that were actually released on PSP. But the whole busy work aspect, man, I'm just like, God, I just go from this quest to that quest. None of it's interesting. Got to go through a whole bunch of dialogue, and not all RPGs are like this. They're not. If everything is interesting from point to point to point, it's gonna have me. It's gonna grab me, just like as much as it's gonna grab the next person or this person or that person. And I have a couple friends of mine that have been playing it, and I think one or two of them have actually beaten it, and they say that it's really awesome, and they've really been wanting to play the second one. And from the review that I've been hearing about the second one, I'm just so maxed out to want to play it. I have been tempted to jump in and actually just play the second one, period. But then again, I would end up losing out on knowing what was going on because the first one, the second one is obviously a continuation from the first one. So it's like I would be missing out on knowing what the hell was going on. And not to mention that your relationships and things that you create with your classmates, actually the saves transfer over. So after I finish with the first one, my save would transfer over to the second one, and whatever relationships I had with them in the first game will go on into the second game, and I'll see how all of that plays out. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video on this because it kind of just numbs your mind. I mean, I can't. It's hard to stick with a game that you want to love so much and that you want to play so much, but it seems like the content isn't interesting enough to hold you. And even then, the thing that I think that's really holding me to this series right now is the fact that what I'm seeing in the story is interesting, and I want to see what's going to happen from beginning to end in terms of the characters and in terms of the story itself, and hoping and praying that there is actually going to be some form of interesting side quest, because there's been no interesting side quests that I've been doing, so I haven't even done all of them. It hasn't really grabbed me that much. I've done a few of them to see what type of items or something that I could get, but overall I just kind of been sticking with the main story. And yeah, it's just I'll just have to see how it goes for me. I'll have to basically probably end up giving a little bit of a quick review or overview of the first one once I finally finish it, and then head on into the second one. But yeah, that's what's pushing me to actually finish the first one right now, is the fact that I want to get into that second one. And from what I've heard about it, I'm just like, God, it's like I gotta get into it, for God's sakes. I'm actually wondering if your character stats will transfer over as well for whatever level you are at the end of the first one, if they'll transfer over. I'm not necessarily sure if they will. I kind of don't think that they will. Maybe it's just your relationships that you have with your other classmates. But yeah, if you guys ever thought about actually getting into this series, just take what I was saying to well, you should not necessarily take it to heart, but just realize where I'm coming from. At least for me, and in my instance, I'm just like, I kind of really wish that I would have just waited to get the first one, but obviously I didn't know it was going to be like this until I had played it. I just heard good things about it, and that's that. We're not psychics. We can't determine what a game is going to be like until we actually play it. You can hear stuff all day long, and you can see reviews, and you can see videos and all that stuff, but what's it really going to matter unless you experience it for yourself? If the content is there and it grabs you, then so be it. Anyways, I'll stop rambling now, and I'll go ahead and pass on off the conversation to you guys, and you guys let me know what you think. So I'm going to go ahead and end this like I always do, and I didn't really want to go on too long with this anyways, because I felt like if I did, I would really start repeating myself, and then people would be like, screw this guy, he can't shut the hell up. So I'm going to go ahead and end this now. Later, taters.